A little editorial commentary on my part. I'm meteorologist Don Paul, stepping away from meteorology for this podcast episode, but welcome to my podcast, Don Paul's Bits o' Blather, ordinarily on weather and climate, but this time around on my editorial policy. I got a very pleasant message from a Facebook friend whom I don't actually know, asking me why he was seeing so little on my Facebook page, for instance, in the way of political issues compared to, say, a couple of years ago. And not that I've eliminated it entirely, but basically, I have tried to stay out of extremist arguments unless I've seen an especially dangerous and egregious assault on an American freedom that's been perpetrated within the last day or two. Here in the podcast, there might be a few who say when I address anthropogenic warming, the warming that's related to human activity, that I'm encouraging a controversy. But in the scientific community, that is not a controversy. It is largely settled science. And if it's not settled, I let you know it's not settled, that more research is needed. As for my Facebook page, I have made it my personal policy to edit. And that is something we all have the right to do on our Facebook and other social media pages. Under the law, there is no First Amendment freedom involved. Government censorship is a different matter. Private citizens on private social media accounts have the right, and I say the responsibility, to edit their pages as necessary. And I've decided, because I have mild hypertension, to avoid flare ups. I've blocked political extremists. I wear a red baseball hat too, but mine has a white R on the front of it for my alma mater. And I will not allow uh, crazy disinformation to be posted on my pages. And I also find that it really encourages people not to run away from my Facebook page because they're not going to be drawn into giant flare up arguments, or at least I try to keep it that way. So if I see someone who has bizarre and what I view to be potentially dangerous anti democratic views that would endanger the American democratic experiment, I get rid of them. And you may not approve of that, but that's my policy and I'm sticking with it. Uh, it lowers my blood pressure, I would think. And also, I do try to fight junk science. Know your source. There's so much disinformation, some of which cost tens and tens of thousands of lives during the heart of the pandemic. Horrific disinformation about COVID and the vaccine. And many people following that disinformation actually lost their lives due to it. So if I see junk science, it may not be a matter of life or death, but I know it. If I know it to be junk, it's gone. Doesn't mean I'm always right, but generally, I've tried to come back to errors that I think I've made and correct things I may have misquoted or misstated. So we're trying to keep it honest, trying to keep it peaceful. And yes, on my Facebook page, there's sometimes some humor, sometimes some great music I may want to share with you. Maybe only two or three of you will click on those links, but that's okay. Just putting it out there. So that is the reason that I'm trying to keep things peaceful and informative. And as I said, we all have the right to edit our social media pages as we see fit. That is not a First Amendment abrogation when we do so. And so I hope you understand that. Thanks for following, and I hope you will continue to follow and share this podcast. And I'll be talking to you about science again in a day or so.